Hey up, it's Steve, and it's time to review episode 5 of season 1 of Alien Earth. I don't know if there's going to be other seasons. I've heard I think last year, something like that, that said that there is going to be a season 2, but apparently one hasn't been greenlit just yet, as far as I know, as of doing this recording. But anyway, but don't forget to like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. Explore the description for links for stuff like merch and my books and my other websites and channels and all that stuff. And become a member of the YouTube channel, then you get early access videos and exclusive videos and stuff like that. So if you recall, I hated the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth. I thought they were pretentious garbage, written and directed by showrunner Noah Hawley, who is so far up his own artistic arse, that's in quotes, that he can see the back of his own eyeballs. That said, I enjoyed episodes 3 and 4, and I had high hopes for episode 5, as according to the trailer, it will show us what happened on the Maginot before it crashed into New Siam. As usual, when you get your hopes up, they get dashed into a million splinters. Noah Hawley returns as writer and director, and this makes me wonder if this was supposed to be the first episode of the series, but higher-ups at Disney, yes, Disney, not FX or Hulu, Disney, higher-ups at Disney told him to put this episode halfway through. I guess they thought interest might start waning by this time, and an action-driven episode bolstered by a good trailer might rejuvenate the show. Alas, this is a poor episode. Titled In Space No One, Hawley is such a patronising twat. This is not as bad as the first 2, but it is very poorly executed with atrocious characters, dialogue and acting from most of the cast. So, as said earlier, we are seeing what happened aboard the spaceship Maginot as it is returning to Earth after its 65-year mission to collect deadly alien life forms from wherever. It is 17 days from Earth, and we pick up from the point where there has been sabotage on the ship, and Morrow, the cyborg security officer, is awoken from cryosleep by his junior security officer, Clem Mady. Yes, he gets called Chlamydia. The Maginot has a crew of 15, but not all of them are awoken, and it is never made clear what the procedure is for waking the crew in an emergency. For instance, the chief engineer is not woken, but his 2 subordinates are. Why? Because the chief engineer is a bad guy, as we learn later. Why not just make the saboteur one of the other officers? Anyway, the fire is contained, but 2 facehuggers were released and have attached themselves to Captain Dinsdale and another officer called Bronsky, who had been in a surreptitious sexual relationship with First Officer Zaveri, which goes against company policy. The crew of the Maginot are all idiots, by the way. Not just idiots, but staggeringly incompetent idiots. Morons of the highest calibre. Complete and utter numpties that can barely tie their shoelaces, never mind undertake a highly complex deep space mission. The ship's doctor, Rahim, kills the captain after he tries cutting off the facehugger's tail, thus releasing acid blood and killing creature and victim. But we don't see where all the acid blood went. Remember in Alien, it ate through several decks. We do see a hole later. Maybe that's what we're left, I don't know. But anyway. But the hole was on another deck. But anyway. It is decided that Bronsky will be put back into cryosleep. Unfortunately, we learn that cryosleep does not affect the xenomorphs and the chestburster erupts. Off-screen, obviously. By the way, this crew somehow knows that the xenomorphs can survive the vacuum of space. It is not explained how they know this. Remember, this takes place 2 years before the events of Alien. So we have a xenomorph running about this huge 125 million ton ship. But the crew don't really seem that bothered about this, spending time arguing, joking and doing everything except what they should be doing. Zaveri assumes command and tries to control the situation, and to be honest, until she meets her fate, I didn't mind this character. The only crew who seem reasonably competent are her, Morrow and Shmuel, the engineer, played by Spaced's Michael Smiley. He played Tyres in Spaced. He also had a brief appearance, like a cameo, in Shaun of the Dead. He's been in other stuff as well. Morrow spends most of the 1 hour and 5 minute episode sleuthing to find out who the saboteur might be. The communication logs were erased, but the computer is reconstructing the data, so there's a running clock there. Scenes of him watching security recordings go on far too long, and when we finally see the communication logs, we discover that the chief engineer Petrovich has been in direct contact with Boy Cavalier, owner of the rival Prodigy Corporation, who wants him to sabotage the ship and deliver him the alien specimens. All of this over an unsecured line that the security officer can just watch at his leisure. This is like Jeff Bezos calling me on my home phone number and asking me to go rob my local Argos. Delegation of tasks or plausible deniability obviously are not an option in the 22nd century. So what next? Science officer Chibuzo studies the leech-like creatures, allowing one of them to escape and ejaculate its seed into her water bottle. I am not kidding. Then she fails to secure the container of the eyeball octopus when she is distracted. As I said, they're incompetent, so the eyeball thing escapes after causing the container to fall and smash on the floor. You would think biological sample containers in the 22nd century would be a bit more robust, but no. Taking her infested water bottle to a crew meeting, the contents are drunk by Malachite, the astonishingly thick engineer's apprentice. So he starts spewing blood later and is taken to the medical bay, where Rahim cuts open his chest to remove the several creatures that are growing in him. Apparently that was quicker than putting him back into cryosleep. Anywho, when Rahim, assisted by Chibuzo, tries to pull out one of the tick leech thingies, it farts a pungent gas that kills everybody in the room. What is it with these extraterrestrial species and their lethal biology? What next? The creepy navigator, Teng, who acts more like a robot than Ash and spends his spare time staring at one of the sleeping female crew, Teng gets taken out by the now full-grown xenomorph. Off-screen, of course. Morrow and Kem go looking for Petrovich just in time for the xenomorph to drop down behind Zaveri. They stare at each other for an age before it... Sorry, the Xeno is a she, isn't it? Before she trips up Zaveri, but does nothing and allows her to run off through the ship, allowing for long tracking shots through the corridors. She climbs down a ladder really slowly, and the alien doesn't get her. They must be like safe rooms in video games. Zaveri gets to the bridge and finds Shmuel there, but he has been possessed by the eyeball octopus and beats up Zaveri, but doesn't kill her for some reason. The xenomorph ran away, by the way. I think the xenomorph is a guy in a suit for many of these scenes, and it shows. Hawley wants us to see the beast in all its well-lit glory, but it kinda looks goofy to me. Xenomorphs are at their best when they're slinking in the shadows, stalking their prey, not doing weird dances in bright corridors. Meanwhile, Morrow and Clem find Petrovich and a shootout ensues, with Clem being killed. Morrow sneaks up on the chief engineer and stabs him with his Wolverine blade, or is it his Assassin's Creed stealth blade? Morrow climbs through the vents and comes out next to the bridge just after the Xeno buggered off, luckily. He shoots Shmuel with his super taser, but the eyeball octopus thing calls out, I am presuming in the xenomorph language, and the alien sticks its head through the bridge door as though saying, "You called?" Then, in a tremendous face turn, Shmuel attacks the xenomorph, leaping onto its back and biting it with no signs of acid blood to be found. The beast kills Shmuel with its stabby tail, and Octo Eyeball detaches and scurries off. Morrow shuts himself in the mother room, and we see what we saw in episode 1, where he shuts himself in the safe pod thingy and Zaveri is killed to death by the xenomorph. Now, how long was Morrow in that pod? I didn't get the impression that days and days had passed after he was woken, not 17 days at any rate. By the way, is 17 days a reference to the length of time the colonial marines in Aliens would be rescued from LV-426? Then we cut to the Weyland-Yutani building in what I think is Chicago, and we are now in the series' current timeline. Morrow has somehow made his way from enemy territory in Far East Asia to North America to meet with Ms. Yutani, and she tells him that Cavalier has requested arbitration about the legalities of the Maginot crash. Morrow tells her if she wants the specimens, he has to do it his way, and she tells one of her underlings to give him whatever he wants, and with that, the episode ends. While the general story of the episode was reasonably fine and the sets were phenomenally good, the execution of the script by Hawley was atrocious. What could have been a tense, exciting, scary episode was ruined by Hawley injecting his arty-farty, or artsy-fartsy if you prefer, shite, and derailing the impetus of the story. Do we really need those extended shots of Morrow and his daughter on the beach by a bonfire, and then we learn she died, so he shows us the bonfire by itself? His studying of the security screens went on far too long. What is Hawley's obsession with voyeurism? The characters, as I said earlier, are completely incompetent. Frankly, they deserved everything that happened to them, except the ones that bizarrely were left in cryosleep, of course. Maybe they were the A shift and we got the B shift. So all in all, an episode that should have been so good was spoiled by bad artistic decisions from Noah Hawley. I'll give this 4 out of 10, and that is just for the amazing set design. Next episode is called The Fly. Is that a reference to the popular Breaking Bad episode of the same name, directed by Rian Johnson? Don't know. By the way, that was my least favourite episode of that great series, and I saw it before Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars with The Last Jedi. So we'll leave it there. As I said, 4 out of 10, and that was just for the sets, which were really, really good. They really recreated, essentially, the set of the Nostromo. So thanks for watching, and wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll say they.
That old Yorkshire geek with stories to